Sellers, please stop leaving money on the table. We are seeing too many situations now where the sellers are leaving money on the table. They are not maximizing efforts. Watch this video and we will show you what is taking place out there and how you can watch to make sure that you don't leave money on the table. I want to tell you a story about an occurrence that happens all too frequently. So I had a couple come to an open house of mine in September of 2021. This was out in a 55 plus community. They are looking to downsize, so they're all just trying to get an idea of what's available. Are they going to, buy something existing or maybe go new construction? So I met them at the open house, showed them the home. It wasn't the home for them or they weren't ready, okay? They're early in the process. I followed up with them, called them a couple times, sent them emails, samples of the listings, other properties around, the seller's disclosure of the property they came to the open house with, and they didn't want to engage. Fine, okay? Not everybody wants to work with a realtor at a time, and they maybe just didn't think they were ready. But I knew where they lived. They had told me their address. I sent stuff to them, and they were in an area that's highly desirable. Their home was going to be clearly one that many people would want, really regardless of the time they're going to be selling it. We are in that type of market for that particular home in that particular neighborhood. The other day, and we were constantly sending them our newsletter, which we send out on a monthly basis, just keeping them informed of the market, telling them what's going on and how to really stay current with their home and what's taking place. The other day, I received a return mail indicating that they had moved. And I took a look at their property and wanted to see what happened, where did they go, wanted to see who sold it, what they sold it for, maybe where they moved to, and just get an understanding, okay? Clearly they didn't use us to sell it, and that's fine, but want to understand more about how they actually sold their property and a little bit more of their timeline. So I took a look and I was shocked. The house sold in October of 2022. So this is past October. So they saw me probably a year before that in 2021, sold it in October 2022 for $650,000. And I was looking at the details of it. We can do that within our MLS system, and we can look at the past transactions and property records. And I took a look, I said, but the sellers that sold it in October of 2022 were not the people that came to my open house. So that prompted a little more investigation. And I discovered that in April of 2022, the people who came to my open house, as they were considering downsizing, sold it off market to an investor for $400,000. Clearly, I don't know the entire condition of the home when they put it on the market, but I will tell you right now that I have sold properties in this area where their home was that have been in less than desirable condition, and I will tell you right now, $400,000, pretty much is a teardown. So, and their home clearly wasn't a teardown. So, what's going on here? That's a very low price. So, even if the house needed work, it could have been sold for approximately $525,000. Because I sold one similar at that same time in the same school district for about the same price. And they should have gotten more. Sometimes people want to sell quickly out of convenience. And we often find now that investors are scrambling for properties. And they're going to do whatever they can to try to come and make it look like it's going to be easy, attractive, cash, quick close, all those things. You have to understand, in today's inventory limited market, you're still going to be able to command a pretty attractive price. So here are some more details that I was able to piece together. So the investor purchased the home in April of 2022 for $400,000. He used $80,000 of his own money and borrowed $320,000 to make the $400,000 purchase. I looked at the listing after the renovations. It took about 4 months for them to do the renovations. And I looked at the disclosures, I estimate the investor put in maybe $60,000 into the project. I think that's generous. Okay, it looks like new paint, new carpet, updated the kitchen. Nothing spectacular in the kitchen, just some granite, some new cabinets, updated the appliances. The roof, they did not change the roof. They didn't change the furnace, they didn't change the air conditioning, and they did not change the water heater because we have some inspection reports that were done to indicate that those were still at the same age and they're almost end of life in most cases on most of those systems. So clean things up. Oh, by the way, did I mention this property has a pool, has an in-ground pool as well. So anyway, I think the investor put in about $60,000, took about 4 months. Put it on the market in August. House went under contract in 1 day. The buyers elected inspections and 10 days later terminated due to items on the inspection report. I looked at the inspection report because they put it out there, and there were some things that needed addressing. The inspection report wasn't as bad as maybe it would cause termination, but we don't know if the seller was going to be refusing or the investor was refusing to make any repairs, so the buyers terminated. Looks as though the investor seller addressed some minor items looking at the notes, and the property went back on the market and was under contract again 5 days later. Probably with that next buyer waiving inspections because they had this inspection report all out there for them. Still, probably a 12-year-old roof. The furnace and air conditioning were end of life. The water heater was end of life. Okay, the in-ground pool looks as though they had opened it, but the seller was saying they were selling it as is with no repairs. So I estimate that the investor sold the property for $640,000, $650,000. They're probably going to net on this about $147,000. We'll show you the calculations out there where we take into account selling costs, the cost of the loan, the investment, and the cost of the improvements. The original sellers could have listed the home for $525,000, and they could have indicated that they really weren't going to do any repairs. Maybe somebody could do inspections, but maybe they weren't going to do repairs, or maybe they'd offer credit. But they could have just said they're not going to make any fixes and buy it as it is for $525,000. If they would have done so, they would have netted approximately $485,000 instead of the approximately $395,000 after some initial selling costs. Even when selling it to investors, you got transfer tax and things of that nature. So they probably left about $90,000 on the table. So in this market, at this time, this is probably the likely outcome that they would have had. Be able to sell the property really quickly, just like they wanted, with very little inconvenience and at a price that the market would probably bear. I don't believe they truly understood their home's value, the market value or the current market. They saw someone waving what seemed like a lot of cash in front of them and made it sound easy, which it probably was. But you have to remember, there's no harm in talking with a realtor to understand the market. Most people make lots of assumptions about our business. They don't have the understanding of what's going on in the market, and markets are local. So I can have a really aggressive market in one school district, and I can have an adjacent school district in which properties are moving slower, and the pricing is a little different. You need to be able to talk with somebody to understand what's going on in the market. How quickly are buyers buying things? How fast are, how much over ask are some buyers paying on some properties if it has certain conditions? How much are people paying for properties even if it may not be in the best condition, but it's something they want to get into because they like the school district, or they like the area, or they like the ability for you to be able to commute to wherever they need to work easily. So you need to do some research. You can't assume just because you think you know what's going on in the market that that's what's really going on. And most people's knowledge about buying and selling homes is based upon the last time they did that. And in some cases, it could have been 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So why not take some time to speak to professionals who do this every day of the week? Even if you decide not to use a realtor. And statistics show that you will leave some money on the table if you don't use a realtor. You're going to gain some better understanding about your home and the market. You could have at least had an understanding of maybe what your house could have gotten had you used a realtor in negotiating with that investor. Maybe get a little more money out of them. Because if you're selling to your house to an investor, you have to leave money on the table. It's the only way the investor is going to even make an offer, because they have to get a property somewhere between 50 and 70% of what you could get on the open market. It's the only way that they're going to be profitable. They need to discount your home, okay, in order for them to make money at your expense. The investor knows the market is where the house should be sold, okay? But they cannot buy it at that price and still make money. Keep in mind, when the investor is buying, he doesn't want your home to be on the market because he doesn't want to be competitive. He doesn't want to have to pay what the market's going to pay. However, when the investor sells, they always put it on the market because they want the market to drive the price up. They want the market to do the heavy lifting for them. They have already gotten the deal. The investor makes the money on the buy side, but they will not do an off-market deal when they are selling because they want to maximize the price. They want to have more money in their pocket. So why are you leaving money on the table? Whatever way you go, make sure you understand the trade-offs that you are making, and don't just take the first person that comes along and offers you something that you think is a lot of money, because right now there's even more of a lot of money out there. Leave us a comment, give us a like, subscribe so you can get more information as it comes out and you get notified of that. Have a great day, everyone.